This is Atlantis Alive, your broadcasting of choice, the heartbeat of the people.
Good day, everyone. My name is Lindele, Ndlzilawana. I come from Eastern Cape in a location, in fact, in a town, small town, Tsomo. Mashubin is the location. So I grew up there briefly, but when I was 8 years, I was in Kailicha Side B. So if some of you hear me so passionate about fighting poverty through education, it is where I encountered poverty, whereby you'll only eat one meal a day. So from there, I learned to hustle for a meal, but at that time, I did not know that it was a way of training me also into understanding how to get things done at that small, young age. But then I also studied cost and management accounting. In fact, my high school, I did it in Eastern Cape in Nyanga High School. But I also went to CPUT. At that time, it was Pentec. That is where I studied cost and management accounting. Shortly after I graduated, I went to work for Asla Construction. I worked there as a site costing clerk. But now, as I was there, I worked very hard until a stage where FNB recognized my efforts, and then I applied there. I started to work as a teller. But after some time, I was promoted to be a consultant. Shortly after, I then became a business consultant. I stayed, I worked, but I got tired because I was doing almost the same thing and I wanted growth. So I went to work for Department of Justice. This is when now I was also dealing with public health. So if a father does not support a child, I was responsible to make sure that they get the money, which is the lady now that is carrying the child. But I stayed for 9 months there. The reason I left is simply because the service levels were too low. We're not client-based. We're all about ourselves and so on. So that passion for me, I realized that it was dying down, coming from the banking background. So that's when now I applied. I worked at Allen Gray Investments, which is where I think in business world, I learned a lot there. As much as I stayed for only 12 months, but in that 12 months, I learned a lot in terms of work ethic, professionalism, treating customers fairly and all of that. But because the stage was too big, considering that I was coming from a government environment where you just work when you want. So my contract was never renewed. I went back to banking. When I went to banking now, I was a casual worker, employed only for a period of 6 months. But in that period, this is when I proved myself to a point that when the 6 months ended, I was then offered a position as a branch manager, of which there I learned my lessons. I worked very hard. I was one of the top performing branches around Kailicha. So out of that, I reached a point where I noticed, if you look at people that are in townships, you look at clients like the ones that are belonging to Allen Gray, you realize that there's a big difference economically. So I set up a company in 2013. That's when I started to be in business. But the main focus was to do financial education. The reason for that is because we realized that a lot of people are poor because they don't understand how finances work. So this is when we engaged in financial education from 2013 up until 2015, when All Mutual then came and offered us a franchise, so that when we advise people, at least we have financial instruments to direct them to. So it was an exciting journey. I remember there was a time when we first employed people that were mainly from squatter camps around Kailicha. Most of them never even have been to work before. They never had any work experience. I took them in and I told them, if you follow what we say, even if at that stage you are all poor, but just trust the process, something will come out. In a matter of 1 month or two, on average, all the consultants that we had were earning not less than 60,000 a month. on a monthly basis. But the challenge there was the fact that they were never educated also on how to keep finances and so on and so forth. But that experience with Old Mutual was a very beautiful one. But I decided, let me go now on community development in 2018. That is when now I partnered with various organizations who wanted to give back to community. The reason they wanted to give back to community was precisely because if a private company gives back to community, because a lot of people always ask this question, why would a private company be interested in helping me and so on and so forth? When a private company contributes to communities, they get discount on tax, the BE scorings, they start to increase and so on. But the challenge is that now people do not know how to navigate those dynamics. So my role was to assist them. So we assisted preschools where we got them funding to build their preschools, and including churches and so on. But now the challenge was that when they get money, they use it for their own personal endeavors, which is when now we sat down with some stakeholders to say, how do we help people to understand that when you get funded, money is not for you to spend on your personal expenses and forget about your vision. That is when now the classes started, but we knew that the basis for everything else must be the business management, which is why now we make it compulsory for all our students to make it a point that you study how to run your own business, how to balance books and so on, before you even have a skill. So now in 2022, there are many companies that came on board, which is when now Cape Venture under the same foundation was then established. Because the reason we say Cape Venture, it is because there's different organizations that partner. But the common vision for all those organizations, it is to make sure that communities are developed. You fight poverty through education. So what do we have on board? We have business management, which is compulsory, but it is a course on its own. It is fully accredited by AgriSeta, meaning that if you decide you don't want to continue with the skills, as long as you've got the certificate, you can still look for employment. But the other skills that we have is catering, baking, we have got retail, pharmaceutical products, home base, hairdressing, etc., etc. The reason we choose those courses, it is simply because there is employment opportunity that is guaranteed when people finish with that. It's something that you don't find with a lot of projects or with a lot of courses, because people now, what they do, they go to learnerships, they accumulate certificates. After those certificates, they go and sit at home without being employed. So this project is unique and special in such a way that it addresses poverty head on. We don't just want to have graduates who say, I've graduated, but I don't know how to fight poverty. Excuse me. Which is why our theme is simple. We say we're fighting poverty through education. What happens after you've done with the 3 months? Because the course duration is 3 months. After 3 months, you get to graduate again, which is for the second time. The first graduation is for business management, but the second one, it is now you graduate for the skill that you have chosen. But immediately after that, you get access to funding to run your own business, those who want to run their own businesses. But if you want to be employed, you get employed within the project. But if you don't want to be employed within the project, you can seek employment elsewhere, because now you will have been equipped with knowledge, skill, and certificate. Now, in closing, there are exciting opportunities that are coming. I'll give you an example now. In Atlantis, we came through Ndlzilawana, who introduced us to the whole community. As we speak, I must say Atlantis is one of the biggest sites we have. We have 187 students to date. And I must say, it is not because they did not hear any negativity or have any challenges that could have discouraged them. But what we also learned as Cape Venture is that if a community is standing together, they can achieve any goal. So we were blessed with good facilitators. William, Don also joined later. We have Olivia as well, who has been holding things in the administration point of view. and the Ellen Dawn as the senior who's also supporting them behind. So it has been a beautiful picture, but after this now, they will be doing practical work, meaning that they will be focusing on the technical skills. But the good news that we have now, we have negotiated that while they are doing the technical skills, they must also be stipend. But the stipend we never wanted to announce, especially in the beginning, because you get people who just come for the stipend. They cause all the chaos and then they ask you, when are we getting paid, and so on and so forth, forgetting that the primary goal of being here is to get knowledge. So there are exciting times. For an example now, we'll be introducing sports activities. Those activities is soccer, netball, music, arts and culture. They will be introduced, but now instead of getting NPOs, we're gonna do it through our graduates. So those will be graduating for business management. They will be championing those activities. There are professional soccer players and netball players who want to be part of the development. But you don't do a development through people who do not respect education. So the fact that these individuals of Atlantis have stood the test of time up until now, even now the funders, they are trusting the process to say, these are the people that can take our nation further. So in closing, once again, I'm very passionate about communities. We don't do this for the sake of money. We do because we understand how it is to struggle, how it is to deal with poverty, but also we know that there is no magic except education. So those who respect education, even when they don't understand, I can guarantee you that you will not regret being part of this project. And even those who are sitting at home now, you don't know what to do, it is your opportunity to get on board. The only thing you pay is 280 once off, which is for your practicals. So now, for an example, in Atlantis, they'll be doing their practicals. You don't go and bake without wearing a proper uniform. Other than that, there's nothing that is required except the discipline to be in class, get knowledge, and so on. I think most of you have heard, even the government said it is not their responsibility to create employment. Meaning that if you are sitting at home, your only hope is to type your CV and do all of that, you might find yourself in that 60% of youth unemployment. Here we are teaching people how to control your local economy. We are not building people for ourselves, we are building people so that at the end of the day, whether Cape Venture is in Atlantis or not, you can still be able to run your own economy. Hence, I am saying this system is very unique in such a way that we empower you so that you can empower others. Thank you very much, and I really hope that we will enjoy this journey. There are many people that are joining to be part of this revolution. If your hope is in politics, you must also forget that you're going to take your situation by storm. The only thing you can do is to get under Cape Venture umbrella, learn skills. Thereafter, you become independent, then you can participate in economic activities. The reason you don't really find white people on the streets, they have prioritized education. So it doesn't matter now if I can say we are running the country or not. Economically, if we have not achieved that, we have failed, even our next generation. Social grant money is just to get you going. It is not money that you can say you will make a living for the next generation. But if you start to learn how to run the economy, then you will know that you have enough time to build wealth for the next generation so that when you die one day, you don't leave your children in debt or not understanding even how to run their own businesses. Foreigners, Somalians are flooding the country because most of us are ignorant. So I am saying, let us wake up from slumber, let us smell the coffee, the sun is going down. If you are still sitting at home, you don't register, you must understand that you are missing out. But in this channel, we're going to have a lot of these updates and so on and so forth. Just make sure that you follow the correct channels. This platform is one of those channels that I'm saying you must follow us on. We know that there are people who talk on our behalf. When we are not there, we are not subscribing to that. The only platform we're officially saying to you must subscribe to is this one that we're talking on today. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day.
This is Atlantis Alive, your broadcasting of choice, the heartbeat of the people.